DJ Payne 1.
I don't think that I'm coming back. Boy, I told you I'm done with that. You think you can do me so wrong? I'm not the one, no, I'm not the I don't think that I'm coming back.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for September 27th, 2025. And what a freaking day of college football from 12 o'clock in the afternoon, or at least Eastern Standard Time, till 11:20 at night. What a day of college football. I'm not going to waste your guys' time here too much. Please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure to go check out the other shows on the Kretschman Media Network on my homepage. But let's get into football. Let's start off with Penn State and Oregon because, wow, that, like, it's crazy that might not even be the game of the day. Like, there were so many games on today that were so good. And I mean, you talk about Illinois versus USC. That was a great game. This game might even be better than that, in my personal opinion. We have to start it off with Penn State. Penn State again folds in a big game. Look, Penn State needs to change their identity. The way they build their football teams, they're not going to win a national championship like that. I get it that Penn State has this identity where they want to run the football and play really good defense. Here's my message to Penn State and their administration. Identify as something else, because whatever this identity is, it clearly doesn't work. That's why you haven't won a national championship since the year of 1986. It's damn near 40 years since you won your last national championship. Whatever you're doing isn't working, and you need to make a change. Is it James Franklin? A lot of Penn State fans are going to say that they need to move on from James Franklin, and I understand, but I also understand the fans that are like, hey, look, he has done some really good things, but whatever Penn State needs to do, they need to move to a different identity. They need to invest more at wide receivers. If you want to run the football more effectively, you either have to have two things: really good running backs and a really good offensive line, or you need to have good running backs, a fine offensive line, and receivers on the outside that lighten up the boxes so that you can run the football more effectively. Because what Penn State does as a team, as an offense, it's just not going to work in college football now. It's not going to work in the Big Ten, where you have teams like Oregon, like Ohio State. But then when you go out and look at the whole country in its entirety, you have teams like, yeah, maybe not this year, but Texas, LSU, teams that they're able to win games because they have studs on the outside. And because of that, their entire offense flows because of that. Penn State needs to invest more at wide receiver. I get it. They have a nice group of receivers. Name me this. Answer me this question, right? When it comes to Penn State, who are the receivers in the NFL from Penn State that you look at and you say, that's a guy? There are like 4 wide receivers from Penn State in the NFL: Chris Godwin, and Jahan Dotson are the best receivers from Penn State. So we see how it works where they're building up the middle, where they're investing in linebackers and running backs and tight ends. They need to invest in the perimeter. They need to be able to stretch the field vertically so that they can have more success running the football. I don't know. I mean, they had Oregon right where they wanted them. It was the whiteout game. Dante Moore is in his 5th game as the starter for Oregon. This is a relatively young Oregon team. And you had them at home in the whiteout game, and you couldn't beat them. Oregon's going to get better. Do people understand that? Like, even if Penn State would have ended up winning this game, I would have been like, I don't know how I feel about Penn State, because Oregon is a team that's going to continue to get better over the course of the season. And if they play at Oregon, if they play at a neutral site, it's a lot more towards Oregon's side. Like, Oregon would have won this game by probably double digits if they were playing on a neutral site or in Oregon. And this is what happens when you're a team like Penn State and you don't schedule quality opponents in your non-conference schedule. This is what happens. So I don't know what Penn State needs to do. They need to change their identity. They need to do something along those lines. Is it move on from James Franklin? I don't know. I know there's Penn State fans that are going to want to move on from him, and I completely understand where you're coming from. But I would also say, like, okay, if you move on from James Franklin, like, yeah, he has done some really good things with the recruiting. I just think he needs to tweak some things. So that's my take on Penn State. Drew Aller, by the way, I mean, 14 for 25, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Threw an interception at the biggest moment of the game. Like, this is my thing about Penn State, and this is why they had such a good opportunity to make a move here and beat one of the best teams in the country. This is a veteran roster. Like, yeah, they lost some players from last year, but they're also returning a lot of players from last year as well. Drew Aller is in his 3rd year as a starter. You have veteran running backs. You have veterans on your defense. Oregon is a team that hasn't blossomed into what they're going to be. And you had them at home, and you still found a way to lose the game. And by the way, like, yeah, they made this a game towards the end of the game. For about 3.5 quarters of this game, it was very clear who the better team was. It was Oregon. I don't know. That they fumbled a big opportunity here. Will Penn State make the playoffs? I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're not. I'm not even ruling them out when it comes to making the Big Ten championship. I think it's unlikely because I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, me personally. And I mean, if we take a look at their schedule, they have Ohio State and Indiana still on their schedule. So, I mean, Indiana looks really damn good. Am I ready to say that Indiana is going to beat Penn State? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Penn State's going to win that game, but I don't think they're beating Ohio State. So, you know, Penn State's going to need Ohio State to lose a game before Michigan and lose to Michigan if they want to make the Big Ten championship game. But this is devastating for them. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I want to talk about Oregon though, because for as much as Penn State blew this game, Oregon went in there and won this game. Oregon was extremely impressive. Like, that is the toughest environment to play in. Dante Moore established himself as one of the premier quarterbacks in college football, if not the premier quarterback in college football. I mean, you look at his performance, 29 for 39, 248 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like, this young man is special. I don't know if he's going to come out this year for the NFL draft or next year, but whatever year he's going to come out, I don't see another quarterback that's going to be better than him in his draft class. And for him to go in there, look as poised as he looked, execute as much as he did in big downs, in big situations, play after play after play, being as smooth as he was in that environment, yeah, Dante Moore has really boosted his Heisman resume, and he's going to put the Oregon Ducks in a situation where they could potentially make a run at the national championship here. And I'm going to continue to say it every time we talk about the Oregon Ducks. This team isn't what this team is going to be. They're going to continue to improve. And when you look at what Oregon did on the ground tonight, I mean, you're talking 39 carries for 176 yards, 4.5 yards per attempt. De'Aaron Hill, 10 carries for 82 yards, 8.2 yards a clip. I mean, this is Penn State. This is one of the best defenses in the country. And you went into Penn State and had this impressive of an offensive performance. Now, I get it. For a little bit there, it looked a little weird there, right? I understand that. That is a fair point. But when this team needed to execute the Oregon Ducks, they executed. And that's hats off to Dante Moore. That's hats off to just this offense as a whole and executing at a really high level. DeCorian Moore, I mean, a freshman going in there, 7 receptions for 89 yards, 12.7 yards a clip. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq, wow. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq's one of the best tight ends in the country. I mean, what an impressive performance by Oregon. And if you're an Oregon fan, you have to feel great about your football team right now, because when you look at Oregon and you look at the rest of the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten's up for grabs. Like, look, I'm an Ohio State fan. I got to keep it real. Like, I think it's fair to say that Ohio State's still probably the best team in the Big Ten. I think it's fair to say that, but I don't think it's like for certain. Like, if Oregon and Ohio State played, I honestly think it would really depend where they played the game at. If they play the game in Columbus, they win. Ohio State wins. If they play in Eugene, I would probably lean towards Oregon. But this is for sure a college playoff football team. Like, that's just the way I look at them. And Dante Moore, I mean, name me how many quarterbacks in the country are better than this young man. Now, I think this was his 5th start for Oregon. So that is something that needs to come into play, right? Like, we still have to see him do this over the course of a season. That's why I would probably hold off on calling him like definitively the best quarterback in the country. But he made a stake to that claim. And I can't get over how good Oregon looked tonight. Like, they went in there and they won on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And their redshirt sophomore quarterback executed on the road at a much higher level than Drew Aller. Ask yourself this question. Who is the best quarterback on the field? Dante Moore or Drew Aller? And ask yourself, how much better was Dante Moore? Again, senior, 3rd-year starter for Penn State compared to Dante Moore, who, yes, he started at UCLA for sure, like his freshman season. Then he went to Oregon and sat behind Dylan Gabriel, and now he's the starter. And he went on the road and played as well as he did. Just impressive. And the physicality that Oregon plays with, like, these numbers are going to look a lot more weird than they actually are. But, like, Penn State rushed for 139 yards tonight, but they only carried the ball for 4 yards a clip, right? And Trevor Pena, he had 3 carries. The wide receiver, they counted those. I think it was the jet sweep where he took it 16 yards. I think, yeah, and put him in a position there. They counted that. So he had 7.3 yards per attempt, a wide receiver did. But, like, when you look at Nick Singleton, who was looked at as one of the best running backs in the country, 1.9 yards per attempt. Katron Allen, 4.5. That's good. But overall, like, if you're telling me that you can hold Penn State to 4 yards a carry, yeah, I feel really good about that, because I don't know how many rushing attacks you're going to play that are better than Penn State? I just don't know that answer. So Oregon went into Penn State, played at a really high level, and they executed. And if you're an Oregon fan, you got to feel really good about your football team. You got to feel really good about your quarterback. And Dante Moore, the one last thing I want to say about Dante Moore. The reason why I'm such a big fan of Dante Moore is because after he transferred from UCLA, he could have went to another team and became the starter there. And he could have went to a plethora of SEC schools, a plethora of Big Ten schools, ACC, Big 12, whatever conference he wanted to go to. There were a plethora of teams he could have started for. But he went to Oregon because he wanted to play for Oregon. He wanted to be developed under Oregon. He saw what Bo Nix did. He saw what Oregon did with Bo Nix and how they completely transformed his entire career and made him into an NFL quarterback. He saw that and he said, I want to play with that team. I don't care if I have to be the backup. I'll wait my turn. It's all about the process. And that's what I'm so impressed with this young man. He went in there calm, poised, smooth, executed in the biggest moments. And he is as well-rounded of a quarterback as you're gonna find. He throws such a nice football. It's a catchable football. He uses his legs to extend plays, create out of structure. He's accurate. Just so many things that you look at with this young man and you say, that's going to be a special player. Not only is he going to be somebody that's going to be taken very high in whatever draft he decides to come out in, but he has the potential to win a Heisman this year. And I'm over the moon with how that young man looked. I want to talk about Georgia and Alabama. First off, can I just ask this question? Chat, let me get your opinion on this. Who is the best team in the SEC right now? I couldn't answer that question for you. Like, to me, going into this day, I was saying it's probably LSU. I was actually pretty convinced that it was LSU, but now I don't know. I know it's not LSU, but what I mean is I don't know who the best team in the SEC is. Is it Ole Miss? I don't know. I mean, I think it's fair at the current moment to say that Ole Miss is the best team in the SEC, because I think that when you look at the in-conference play, they had the most impressive win out of any other SEC team in the conference, right? Like, LSU went into this game, they were fourth in the country. And yeah, there were some performances that LSU had that made you say, are they the best team? Are they the number 4th ranked team? And maybe you can say Alabama had the most impressive win after beating Georgia in Georgia, because Ole Miss beat LSU in Oxford, but Alabama beat Georgia in Athens. So I don't think that there's a great answer. If you want to say Texas A&M, I think that's a fair answer. Oklahoma, that's a fair answer. But I think just looking at what these teams have done in SEC play, I think you can say Alabama is the best, but I'll give it to Ole Miss just because they're 5-0 in total. But again, I don't feel great about that. Like, if Ole Miss played Texas A&M, do I think that that's an Ole Miss win? Depending where they play, I don't know if that's the case. If they play in Oxford, maybe I would lean Ole Miss. But if they played in College Station, I would probably say Texas A&M. I don't know. There are so many great teams in, I wouldn't say great teams. There's a lot of really good teams in the SEC this year. And I don't think that there's a definitive answer to who the best team in the SEC is. I think that the best team in the SEC for the moment is Ole Miss. But again, you could say Alabama, you could say Texas A&M, you could say Oklahoma. I think you can make a case for all 4 of those teams. But I don't think that there's a definitive team that just is head and shoulders above everybody else. And when we start getting later in the season, we start talking about this SEC championship game. There's going to be a lot of options there, and there's going to be a lot of fun matchups that we could potentially get into, right? I mean, like, how fun would it be to see Texas A&M versus Oklahoma, or, Ole Miss versus Alabama? Like, there's just so many matchups that I look at it and I just say, wow, we're going to have a really fun time deciphering the SEC and seeing where this thing could potentially go, because it's deep. This conference is really deep. And not only is it really deep this year, like Auburn, they have 2 SEC losses. But I don't think you can look at Auburn and the fights that they put up in both of those games against Oklahoma and Texas A&M and say, like, I think that there's a very good case that Auburn should be ranked, because they played 2 of the top 10 teams in the country. And I think they lost by a touchdown last week to Oklahoma. Yeah, they lost by a touchdown last week to Oklahoma, and they lost by 6 points to Texas A&M. And they played at Oklahoma. They played at Oklahoma, and they played at College Station. So I think even though they have 2 losses, I think it's about how you look in those losses. In my personal opinion, they looked very good in those losses. But again, it's all about, to me, when it comes to answering this question, I think you can make a case that Ole Miss or Alabama or the other 2 teams that I mentioned, Texas A&M and Oklahoma, I think one of those 4 teams, that's the team that you have to look at. But I want to move on to the Georgia-Alabama game. Just like Penn State, like Georgia, yeah, I understand they beat Alabama in the national championship a few years ago, and I get that. That's a very important win. But I think I saw something where it was like 10 of the last 11 games that Alabama played against Georgia, that Alabama won those games. And again, if you're Georgia, you cannot get behind in these games like you've had the last 2 times you played SEC opponents. They got behind against Tennessee. They barely pulled out that game. They got behind against Alabama. They weren't able to make enough plays late in the game to win the game. They weren't able to get enough stops on the defensive side of the ball to win that game. And my question about Georgia is this, right? I think they still probably get to the college football playoffs, because when I look at the rest of their schedule, Auburn's going to be a pain in the behind, because they've been a pain in the behind to the 2 other top 10 teams that they played, and they're playing at Auburn. They have Ole Miss at home. I think they could win that. They could win that game. I don't know if they're going to win that game, but they could win that game. Florida's been a pain in the butt here. I don't think Florida's that good, but they've been a little bit of a pain in the butt. Mississippi State was a pain in the butt to Tennessee. Texas, I think they'll beat Texas at home. And then Georgia Tech, I think they could beat Georgia Tech. But is it a certainty that they make the college football playoffs? I think that they're probably going to make it. But I'm just saying, I am not overly impressed with this football team. I think the identity to their team over the past few years here has been their defense. And I just don't think their defense this year is nearly as good as it's been in years past. I mean, Alabama went into Georgia. Ty Simpson was as impressive as you can get, right? 24 for 38, 276 yards, 7.3 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Alabama, they only ran the ball. They had 38 carries, 3.1 yards per attempt. So it's not like they were running the ball down their throat, right? 38 carries, 117 yards. I'll live with that. But Ty Simpson was so impressive this game, and he was making so many plays that made you say, okay, that's the reason why they won this football game. And Gunnar Stockton, God bless his heart, he is not a guy that's going to be a quarterback for a team that could potentially win a national championship, unless your team is just really that good. Like, I personally don't see it in Gunnar Stockton. Now, they did run the ball really effectively this game, right? And that's kind of the reason why I look at Gunnar Stockton. I just say, oh man, I don't know. Like your team kind of did a lot here, like 24 points given up by your defense. Like, yeah, it's not ideal. 24 points, it's getting towards that. And you gave up a little too many points, but like at home, with the fact that your run game was 33 yards, 227 yards on the ground, 6.9 yards per attempt, right? Like you have Young, you have Branch. These guys are good players. I don't know. Like I look at Gunnar Stockton and I say, that's the reason why they lost this football game, because their quarterback, he's just not that good. Like he has a lot of heart, right? I appreciate everything that Gunnar Stockton does. I have a lot of respect for him. But if Georgia wants to win a national championship, like obviously it's too late to move on from that. You can't, it's not like the NFL. No, you can't just move on from a quarterback and trade for one midseason. But just going forward, they're going to need to find a guy there at the quarterback position. It's too late this season, but we'll see what happens going later in the season. But Alabama, I want to talk about Alabama here for a little bit. Is it crazy to think that we overreacted to them losing to Florida State? And I know that might be crazy to say after we saw what happened with Florida State yesterday against Virginia, but like them winning this game, it tells me that they're a resilient bunch, right? Kalen DeBoer got these guys up to play. And Kalen DeBoer, there's like a middle ground, right? Because obviously, when you move on from Nick Saban, the guy that you give the job to after you move on from Nick Saban, it's big shoes to fill. But at the same time, like Kalen DeBoer has had some egregious losses. And that's where it's like, we got to find the middle ground here where it's like, no, this isn't just, hey, they moved on from Nick Saban and, oh, poor Kalen DeBoer, he has to fill the shoes of a legend. Like, nah, he's had some egregious losses, but this is a day I don't think we can slander Kalen DeBoer because, I mean, right now they're 1-0 in the SEC, 3-1 on the year. I mean, they just beat the number 5 ranked team in the country. It's an impressive win for Alabama. And I think that, you know, Alabama's starting to blossom. It's kind of the same thing with Oregon. They're a team that I think is going to blossom into a much better team at the end of the season than at the beginning of the season. And then another reason why I think people may have overreacted to the Florida State loss, and I get it. I get why people did it, right? Notre Dame last year lost to Northern Illinois, and they went on and got to the national championship. Like, teams, especially now with college football and the fact that teams aren't as top heavy, like the country isn't as top heavy as it once was because of NIL, because now like different schools have, you know, monetary benefits to come to their school. And with, you know, these NIL deals, they're not looking to endorse backup players. They're looking to endorse starters. They're looking to pay starters. So there's much more pressure on these young players to come in and be starters. So the discrepancy between, you know, the top team and the 50th best team in the country isn't as wide as it once was. So that's why I kind of think you see some of these funky games here like Alabama did with Florida State. This was my preseason pick to win the SEC. And I actually feel better than I did before today, right? Like, I mean, you go into Georgia and you win this game, obviously you have to feel great about that. And, you know, like Ryan Williams, to me, he had that drop in this game. And he's somebody who I hold him to a very high standard because I saw what that young man can be. That is a special talent. But Isaiah Horton is really doing some, like, he had a really good game for them today. And I just think overall, Alabama is back on track when it comes to them potentially being an SEC conference winner. And obviously, like, that Florida State game, in the terms of them making the SEC championship game, it's not gonna play a role in that. Like, if they go undefeated in the SEC, they're gonna play in the SEC championship game. And when you look at the rest of their schedule, they have Vanderbilt at home, they have Missouri in Missouri, they have Tennessee. So that's a stretch of games against ranked opponents where I think they can go 3-0 in that stretch of games. Like, Vanderbilt's a pain in the butt, but they're playing in Tuscaloosa. I think they'll win that one. They're playing at Missouri. I think they'll win that. Against Tennessee in Alabama, like, I think they go 3-0 in that stretch. And then they get South Carolina and LSU. Like, I think they could run the table. I honestly believe that. I don't think any of these teams, like Oklahoma, will be a game that's very competitive, especially if John Mateer's playing in that game. But they're playing that game at home. They get LSU at home. They get Auburn in Auburn. That's going to be that's the type of game where it doesn't matter what your record is. But yeah, Alabama has a chance here. And look, I am no Alabama fan. Like, I'm just going to let people know this. I cannot stand Alabama. But I got to call a spade a spade. They could win the SEC this year, especially with how wide open the conference is and the fact that there's like no team that I think really separates themselves from the rest of the conference. Yeah, they could do that. And especially if Ty Simpson is going to play the way that he played against Georgia. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely they can. That Florida State game, it was a rough one, but them going into Georgia and beating Georgia, does that make up for it? I mean, if they end up winning the SEC and get into the college football playoffs, I think they will be just fine. So I want to move on to the Ohio State and Washington game. Now, I do want to get this out of the way for disclosure. Like, I am an Ohio State fan. So, like, I think I do a pretty good job of being unbiased, but I do have to tell people that, like, I do root for the team. But when I watched Ohio State versus Washington, there wasn't a moment in that game where I felt like Washington was going to take control of the game or potentially win the game. Ohio State, to me, is a team that they know themselves very well. They're not fooling themselves on their identity. They're a team that plays defense at an extremely high level. They have a quarterback in Julian Sayin, who is an efficient quarterback. Kind of reminds me of what Jared Goff is for the Detroit Lions. Like, he's not a superstar player, but he'll do the things that you ask him to do. He'll get the ball to your playmakers. And I mean, Jeremiah Smith, 8 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown today. You know, good game from him. And the thing that I really like about Ohio State is I think that they're going to have a lot of success running the football this year. Bo Jackson, the freshman, looks like he could be a really good player for them. CJ Donaldson, another guy who, I mean, 4.3 yards per carry today and a touchdown. That's their short yardage back. They have a really nice tandem there. Is it what they had last year with Henderson and Judkins? No, it's not that. But I don't think they need that this year to potentially win a national championship. And this team offensively, I feel like if they want to, they can open it up and put up 40 points. But they don't have to. They need to just rely on their defense, have the offense be efficient, run the ball effectively, shoot time, win time of possession, control the pace of the game, and they're going to win pretty much. I mean, I look at the rest of their schedule. You know, obviously the game against Michigan is going to be something that you have to pay attention to because they've obviously struggled with that school. But like Penn State in Columbus, they're going to win that game. at Illinois, like, okay, yeah, that's going to be, I guess, a tough game for them. They're going to win that one. I think the only game that they might struggle a little bit with here is Michigan. I mean, and I have to say it, like, bro, as an Ohio State fan, we struggle against them. Like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say we. That is not journalistic integrity. But I mean, Ohio State struggles against Michigan. But I just think that when you look at this team, Ryan Day is comfortable in his own skin. I think this team as a whole, they know their identity, they stick to their identity, and they're going to win because of their identity. And what their identity is, they're physical at the point of the attack. They're good on every level on the defensive side of the ball. When it comes to their defensive line, I mean, they completely rebuilt their defensive line. I don't think they didn't return a single starter from last year when it came to their defensive line. And they're one of the best defensive lines in the country. They rebuilt like in a heartbeat. I mean, they lost so many pieces on their defense from last year. It doesn't matter. They rebuilt their entire defense. And obviously they have Matt Patricia, who's making things happen. When you bring in a defensive coordinator with that much experience, I mean, he's going to be one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Like, yeah, he might not cut it as an NFL defensive coordinator. That doesn't mean he can't cut it as a college defensive coordinator. And so far, so good from him. Man, like, I don't think Ohio State, like, when you look at the talent on this team and you look at the offensive talent on the team, like, that's a team that you look at and you expect them to put up 40 points a game. But I don't think that that's their goal. I think they want to be efficient. I think they want to win off the back of their defense and then have their offense complement their very elite defense. And that's how Ohio State's going to win games. And again, when you look at their schedule, it's not like it's a barn burner schedule. You have to give Michigan the nod there and say, until you beat them, I can't count that as a win for you. Like, no matter how good Penn State has been, they usually always beat Penn State. So they'll be fine there. But Ohio State, right now, they're a well-oiled machine. They know what they are, and they don't try to be anything other than that. It's kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles in a way, right? Like the Philadelphia Eagles, they know what they are, and they don't care if, you think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and they don't really care if you think, that their offense isn't good. They're like, hey, we win games, we have an identity, and that's what we're going to win with. But Washington, like, that's not just, I know they were unranked going into this game. Washington's a good football team. Like, they beat Washington State, and say what you want about Washington State, that's still a high major school, 59-24. Like, that's pretty damn impressive. And they gave some fits to Ohio State in this game. At the beginning of the game, it looked a little odd at the beginning of the game. But then ultimately Ohio State made their adjustments and they ended up going ahead and winning the game. Another game that I have to talk about, by the way, before we move forward, I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for the kind comments. Classic Vinyl behind you, subscribe. Appreciate that. Please make sure to subscribe to the page, by the way, guys. We are a media network. If you guys don't know this, we are a media network. We have a bunch of other shows. We have a college football show, The Stadium Pulse with Tegan Randolph. Great show. We have a bunch of other shows. It's on the home page of this page, and I would greatly appreciate if you guys check that out. Appreciate Brent in the chat. 2023, we had McCord. Hey, McCord, St. Joe's Prep alum. Shout out to McCord. Thank you, David, and thank you, Brian. Penn State sucks. His words, not mine. They do not suck. They're a very good team. I want to move on to the USC and Illinois game. I mean, look, first off, I want to start off by talking about Lincoln Riley and his comments this week where he was saying, like, oh, well, we have to play what's 9 o'clock on the West Coast. That's essentially what we're doing. Like, I get where he's coming from, but NFL teams do this all the time. Like last week, the Rams played the Eagles in Philly. It was essentially 10 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, right? Like NFL teams do this, and I get it. It's college, it's a different game. But like, I think you need to blame your school that you coach for more than you need to be blaming the schedule makers and people who make the games, right? Like, I didn't think that was fair. But I mean, look, when I look at USC, I see a team that their offense can go toe to toe with anybody. Makai Lemon, can we talk about Makai Lemon for a second? Is Makai Lemon one of the best players in the country? Like, is he one of the best receivers in the country? I think that it's fair to say that. Why not? I mean, he was impressive. They almost won this game because of Makai Lemon. I mean, he made big play after big play. Like, offensively, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. Jacoby Lane, Wayman Jordan. I mean, dude, Wayman Jordan looks like Le'Veon Bell out there with his patience and his ability to see things and anticipate blocks and all that. Wayman Jordan is an impressive player. And USC, they're going to give a lot of teams fits here. And, are they a team that can get to the Big Ten championship? That might be a little difficult for them. But I mean, like when you look at the rest of their schedule, I mean, they have Michigan. They have Michigan at home. And then they have Nebraska in Nebraska. Like, yeah, they have Notre Dame, but that's not an in-conference game. They have Northwestern. They have Iowa, Oregon, and UCLA. Now they have Oregon in Oregon. It's a stretch. It's a stretch to say. It is really a stretch to say that USC can make the Big Ten championship when you look at their schedule. Like, they play Michigan at home. I don't think they're going to win that game. They play Oregon at Oregon. I don't think they're going to win that game. Like, I think they'll beat. Actually, I'm going to say this. They're not going to beat Notre Dame. Like, I look at this schedule and I see 3 more losses on their schedule. Like, this was a game that they had to have today. And I don't think there's any moral victory here, especially when you look at the rest of their schedule. You have to say, like, you kind of blew it there. And they made a valiant effort at the end of the game when they came back in this game. But at the end of the day, like, Illinois, like, there's a reason why they won this game. Like, the better team won this game. And yeah, like, I like Jaden Mayava. Like, I'm a big fan of his. I'd love to see what happens if he comes back for another year, what exactly that looks like. Because, I mean, you talk about a guy who's 6'3", 240 pounds, that moves the way that he does and delivers the ball with the type of touch that he has. I mean, there's some really impressive things and some really good things to like about Jordan Mayava. I think that he is a guy that you look at in the upcoming years and you say, hey, there could be something there. I mean, today he had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 30 for 43. I mean, he's completing damn near 71% of his passes, but that's pretty damn impressive. But like, I don't want to make this like me giving USC all this credit, because Illinois did win this game, and Luke Altmaier looked fantastic. Like, I mean, you talk about 20 for 26, 328 yards, 12.6 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 0 interception. He had a QBR of 97.5. Like, that is just impressive. Not only that, what he provided on the ground as well. And I mean, he made some really big plays on the ground. So, to me, if USC wants to be taken seriously as a contender in the coming years, they have to improve on the defensive side of the ball. And I feel like we've been saying this for years now, and nothing's really changed with them. And I feel like we've been saying this about Lincoln Riley teams for years now, and we keep saying this about his teams. But it's kind of the same thing with Penn State, where they are extremely stale when it comes to their team identity when it's just, hey, we're going to run the ball and play really good defense. I feel like USC needs to start, doing a little more of what Penn State does. Like, I feel like both of those teams need to come together and like have a marriage, and they would be like a really good team if they just married their philosophies, because USC is not that far away when it comes to a program, to being a legitimate program. But again, it's, can they improve on the defensive side of the ball? Because what we saw from them on the defensive side of the ball against Illinois, it was flat out pathetic. When they needed to make a stop, it felt like every single time Illinois made a big play and made something happen. Their offense can go toe-to-toe with pretty much any offense in the country, especially when you look at the fact that they probably have a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the country. They have some really good pieces on the outside there, and they can run the ball a little bit here. Like, they can be a team that offensively can put up big numbers. But until Lincoln Riley changes his philosophy when it comes to building a more stout defense, it's going to be the same thing that we say about Lincoln Riley teams. It's that they can put up points, but defensively, like especially in the Big Ten, if you can't have a defense that can consistently get you stops, you're not going to win games in the Big Ten, or at least enough games to get you in the conference championship and put you in a situation to where you can compete for a conference championship. So that's my big thing coming out of this game when it comes to USC and Lincoln Riley as a whole. But we have gone for damn near 50 minutes. That is actually crazy. So if you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Make sure to go check out the rest of the pages on the channel. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.